tricks. For example, many other species are specialist feeders, relying on a single source of food. But during our evolution, we never knew where our next meal was coming from. We always had to be on the lookout for any new source of sustenance. In this way, we were able to adapt to almost any environment. But this often involved us in taking risks. For a risk-taking species, we're not really physically very well equipped. We're not protected by a hard shell, or a thick hide, or a shaggy coat. Our naked bodies with their soft skin and fleshy feet are exposed and vulnerable. But it's amazing what we can make them do. This little girl's dilemma sums up the human condition. Under the watchful eye of her father, she's facing a new challenge. Part of her is desperate to jump from this high platform, even though there's no special reason for her to do so, while another part of her is scared to take the plunge. This conflict is present in all of us throughout our lives. When to jump and when to play it safe. For these older children, the risks on this raft ride were a little too tame, so they deliberately create additional problems. The human animal always likes to raise the stakes just a little bit and push the limits just a little further. Acts of pure danger become the key to excitement for some people, like these train-riding surfistas in Brazil, who risk their lives just for the thrill of escaping death. Here one sees the playful face of human bravery and the urge to satisfy the human need to push experiences to the absolute limit. And you can't go much further than dodging high-voltage electric cables on top of a speeding train. In recent years, groups have been formed with the express purpose of taking risks. The members of these strange clubs spend a great deal of time and money trying to devise new ways of risking their lives. This human catapulter may appear to most of us to be a weird eccentric. But in reality, we do much the same sort of thing every time we risk shooting a traffic light as it changes colour. For those who fear taking physical risks, there are always alternatives available. In many countries, there are gambling halls where the minor risk of losing a little money can be enjoyed. The risk-taking in these pachinko parlors may seem monotonous to outsiders, but thousands of Japanese indulge in this type of dangerous living every day. Risk-taking is not a purely modern phenomenon. It's been a human preoccupation for thousands of years. For these Fijian firewalkers, deliberately risking physical pain long ago became elevated to the status of a religious ceremony. If a handkerchief were placed on these stones, it would burst into flames. To this day, nobody knows how injury to the soles of the feet is avoided in this ancient form of firewalking. This is risk-taking in its purest and most magical form. The human species has always enjoyed playing with fire, but never perhaps quite so literally as this. Surely the strangest game of football in the world. There's little risk of handball here, unless of course you happen to be the unfortunate goalkeeper. The game continues until at last the referee blows up for full time. One of the most important properties of play is that it contains an element of make-believe. When a kitten pounces on a leaf, that leaf symbolizes a mouse, and the young cat accepts the leaf as a victim of a hunt and treats it as one, even though it's obvious that it's not.
When he was asked why he'd written the words, "This is not a pipe," underneath this particular image, René Magritte replied, "Well, you can't stuff tobacco into this pipe, so it isn't really a pipe at all." The point he was making is that the image is not the thing that it represents. We're all capable of making this symbolic equation, of letting one thing stand for another, of reacting to something as though we really believe in it, whilst at the same time knowing that it's only make-believe. This isn't just the basis of a great deal of human visual art. It's also the basis of words and literature. The word dog, for example, never bit anybody.
And symbolic play is, of course, widespread in adult life. Whole industries are based upon it. When we go to the cinema, we're entering a world of pretend. Here, a hidden camera records the facial expressions of people watching a torture scene from a violent film. They know that what they're seeing is being performed by actors, but they clearly experience acute reactions to what they're witnessing as if it were real. In the past, people have sometimes planned their whole future on the basis of symbols. In more superstitious times, magical symbols were thought to carry such amazing powers that complicated ceremonies were woven around them. Here, in rituals that may last for up to 4 days, Navajo Indians create sand paintings with complex meanings. Every shape, every color, every image has a special symbolic significance. The paintings are made by carefully dropping granules of colored pigment onto the sand bed. Once they've been completed, the individual who is the focus of the ritual sits in the center of the painting. With songs and chants, the magical images soak up her troubles and spirit them away. It's tempting to say, but these are only sand pictures. How can anyone imagine that they have real influence? But then, how can anyone imagine that an actor in a film is really being tortured? Once we enter the world of symbolic thinking, we become suggestible to an amazing degree. Whole mythologies have been constructed on the foundation of just a few symbolic equations. Whether they're true or false is hardly relevant. Their importance is in the way they transport us onto new planes of experience and release us into the heady world of brain games and mind play. As soon as our basic needs are satisfied, as soon as we've gone beyond survival, we're off and running. The naked ape should really be rechristened the creative ape. At our best, we remain all our lives childlike adults, ready at the slightest excuse to indulge in mature play. To many people, our greatest achievements are to be found in the realms of such pursuits as technology, medicine, politics, and economics. But to me, these are merely means to one of two ends, either better human survival or better adult play. If ever we give this up and all become depressingly earnest, pious adults, we'll have betrayed our great biological heritage as the most exuberant, most mischievously imaginative animal on this planet. Above all else, the lesson to be learned from the biological study of human beings is that we are part of nature. We're not above it, we're an integral part of it. The human animal, in many respects, as we've seen repeatedly in this series, is very much like other animals. But in a few important respects, we're very, very different. And it's these differences that have made us the dominant animal on the planet. Of all the millions of species that have ever lived, we, the human animal, are by far the most extraordinary. We're the magic combination, the threshold leaper, the risk taker, the venerable child for all occasions.